So how do you take a small bite of IoT as an operator or as an SI and offer it to your customers, and when you get traction, business traction from crawl, take a bigger bite. And now maybe you put it into a managed service where there's 5 nines and or not 5 nines, 3 to 4 nines on IoT. It's an over-the-top service that you can actually write an SLA to your customers. But now you've built the business case. And then run, maybe you want to put it in your network. Maybe you actually want to move it into your space and manage it. But if you start on the right side here, man, that's a big bite that you guys have to take on. That's a lot of risk, frequently, and it's a tough decision to make in an operator environment. So going from basically a fully hosted managed service, branded, that's out there that you can go test the waters with folks like Telit is great. When you build the business case, put it into your infrastructure a little bit tighter, and just kind of continue to grow with your customers so that you can do this in a very, very paced fashion. Some details, it's all about basically a one-time fee where you can get in and basically try. That's the way we've structured the crawl model. One-time fee, sell to as many customers, get as many pilots going, understand how to make a business of IoT if you haven't done that yet. Now, some of the big carriers, the AT&Ts and the Verizons, we've worked with them for years, for Sprints. They get it, right? They're pretty tuned in, but a lot of the regional guys that want to go into the space, they haven't figured it out. A lot of the tier 2 companies or tier 2 mobile operators around the world are also figuring this out. We're deployed globally. We've got instances in the US, we've got instances in Asia. We're in Europe and the Middle East. We're pretty much deploying across MNOs globally, which is great for companies like Telit as well, because they have hundreds of thousands of machines around the world. So being able to connect and manage across operators is also a pretty cool thing. Walk, it starts becoming a revenue share. It's completely managed on your behalf. You just teach your sales guys to go have business discussions with your customers. It's not about the technology. It's funny, we trained one major operator. We talked to, I shouldn't say trained, we informed probably 3,000 sales guys in their operation, enterprise sales teams. And the guys that ask us the most questions about how it worked are actually the guys that didn't sell anything. The guys that ask us questions, why, and show me some use cases, were the guys that actually could articulate the value to their enterprise customers, and that was a pretty neat deal. And then run, just more buy-in, more doubling down on the technology. You're committed, and the revenue share just gets deeper and deeper for the operator. But that's what we do. We want to enable you, the operators, you, the SIs, and ultimately we want to deliver value to the enterprise customers like Telit. So an example of a success story here is, I picked a foreign one because I didn't think they would be here. We're okay to do this, but I didn't want to pick anybody in the room and not pick another. Proximus M2M factory powered by DeviceWise. So this is a turnkey solution offered in Belgium, in Luxembourg, by a state-owned operator that basically does everything I showed you before and can make guys like Paul and Telit very, very happy out of the box. It's a very simple DIY environment where people can develop on it, or they can bring in their SI partners to help them. And when you look at this, the ecosystem is, you connect things, you have connectivity, there's solutions. They have about 80 ASPs. So these are the turnkey apps that are built basically for verticals, but we're not doing it, right? And the operator's not doing it. They have partners that can do it, that can basically deliver value, and then ultimately take more ARPU, get a stickier customer relationship, and build a long-term value relationship with the customer. So with that, I want to end with questions. I'm going to ask Paul to come up if there's questions for any of us, Telit or ILS Telit, let us know. And I want to thank you for your time. As we get close, I know people will be exiting, but before people exit, I want to say thank you for your time. And hopefully this is educational. Maybe it's a little inspirational about the way things can be done. But the biggest takeaway here is it's not about the technology. There's smart people and there's smart, mature ecosystems that can make this work for you. And if you leverage that and you focus on building your business and understanding why IoT makes sense for your customers, I think everybody will be happier and it'll move quicker. Thank you. Questions? Any questions? We got one way over here.
do your end users for these products or services, the connected machines and cleaning and things like that, actually experience this? Like, how did you communicate to them? How easy did they understand it? Are they adopting it easily?
Yeah, that has been one of the biggest challenges. We've got internal stakeholders as well as the customers. So the internal stakeholders is our customer service organization, it's our engineering organization, it's our field service organization. This is somewhat new to them as well, but they immediately realize seeing what's happening at a machine with whatever data they can collect is valuable. The challenge is then how do you present it simply and actionably for them. So a lot of the KPIs you saw me mention, that's taken months of development time to create that, but it's the hardest part of the adoption of the Internet of Things capabilities within a company is the education, the presenting the value of the Internet of Things machine data is time consuming. Turn them up.
Yeah, do tenants' customers report a payback? And if so, do they give you a range of what that might be?
We've not heard that kind of economic value yet. What we've heard is from fleet customers, the last quote, for example, they feel enlightened to see actually that machines are or are not being used. And oftentimes the owners of tenant machines are not the ones that use them. They contract that service out. They have contract labor force that work in stores overnight, things like that, where they don't see and actually know how machines are being used or how productive labor is. Getting machine data like this now lets them see that machines are or are not being used, and they feel better that the assets are being utilized, that they have actual usage information, and they see the value of that. That's where we see fleet sales opportunities. There's also the field service value proposition where we sell field service, and actually seeing usage information on machines can control and save a lot of efficiencies on making unnecessary trips, making sure we have parts to replace those that are being used. Things like that are still being captured, documented, and experienced by the customers using this. We've not gotten to that point of the big economic drivers. I expect to see that soon, though.
Excellent presentation, by the way. Thank you. Just as a follow-up to the previous question on the customer payback, could you maybe share with us how is it that you charge for the connected services, so the hardware, software, any services? How do you go about doing that?
Yeah, that's a great question, and our marketing and sales organization struggled with that for a couple of years. What we found in our industry, nobody wants to pay a monthly cost to see data like this. So we realized we're not going to be able to sell it as a per month sort of additional expense. What we ended up justifying the entire investment around, which includes all the engineering R&D to build the actual capability, the information systems to present it back to customers. We justified that as an investment in fleet sales revenue increases as well as field service efficiencies. So we know we will be able to take field service trips out of our service organizations, which saves money from that respect. And we know having a fleet asset management tool is going to drive more fleet sales and adoption, and we think that will justify the return. So we are offering this as a configurable option. Customers can buy on tenant machines and buy it in a 3-year Iris asset management fleet package or a 5-year package. And with that would come the monthly data plan costs as a part of the ILS Telit arrangement, and that they would be able to see that data come through the portal we've created.
That is actually a great question. And we see a lot of customers. Telit, we have about 5,000 customers globally, and how they monetize this, whether it's a fixed fee over the course of the lifespan of the product or whether it's a monthly charge, it really changes pretty radically depending on industry, the sophistication of the buyer. But what I think is interesting is just as we talk about crawl, walk, run for operator pickup, It's the same for customers. And you know, some of you have some of these on your seats, but these are use cases basically from a lot of our customers. Give a customer data they never had before. Let them derive a little bit of value, and you will immediately have adjacent needs. And you know, I've not met an IoT project that hasn't had creep, scope creep. That's because it's been value increases along the way. There wouldn't be realized scope creep on a project unless there was realized value. And it's, I like to say you got to get started to get started. If you're waiting for IoT to find you, shame on you. It's happening, it's everywhere. If you jump in and learn on a simple use case and you start looking at value from adjacencies, then I think your charging methods to your customers will radically change. Just like the freemium services. They're all great until you want that next click. And then people buy into a freemium service for an app or something else. So never think it's done. It's a great path for very rapid evolution and application.